And then, you know what, I'd be totally remiss in telling you wines that I enjoy if I didn't mention Italian wines. That's a tough call. Do I drink more Italian or French or local? I don't know. It's a toss-up between those three. If I'm cooking at home and I'm opening a bottle, it's more often Italian wine. Because Italian wine is unique in the world for its compatibility with food. You know, there's one great reason for that. It tends to be elevated in acid. Well, the classic appellations tend to be a little bit elevated in acid. And a little tiny bit more acid in wine makes it so much more versatile with food. It's funny, it's actually why our local wines are so great with food, is because they're elevated in acid normally. But this producer of Chianti Classico, Castello di Rampolla, this has been a favorite of mine for, I'm really realizing how old I am now. Since the mid-90s, when I was working at a Tuscan restaurant in Vancouver called Umberto's, and we were bringing in the Castello di Rampolla, and it was right at the head of the class of Chianti Classico. And it remains so. I always find this wine super exciting. Has this real great earthiness, almost a barnyard sort of thing to it. But then has leather, which I guess you associate with barnyard still because it's kind of a worn leather. And it has this little tiny bit of cinnamon, but not to take it to exotic spices. It's not excessively spicy. It just has this little tiny bit of spice to it. And then this real distinct cherry on the nose. And when you put it on the palate, it goes to sort of sour cherry and cranberry. It really has this vibrant tightness on the palate. And that's where that magic with food comes in. To be fair, out of all these wines, I probably had more bottles of Castello di Rampolla only because I've been drinking it for 20 years now. What is the cost on this? I think it was $45, so it's not an inexpensive Chianti Classico. Something interesting about this producer, they included Cabernet in their blend long before they were allowed to. It's always been traditional for Castello di Rampolla to have a little bit of Cabernet in his blend. How does he do that? How does he break the law? When years ago you weren't allowed to put Cabernet. Now you are. Now you're allowed to put in foreign grapes, just a small percentage. But back in the day, he was still breaking the rules and getting away with it. And why? Well, because he was making a great product. Right? Does this wine taste like Cabernet Sauvignon? Not at all. Not at all. It just gets a little bit more tannin structure from the Cabernet Sauvignon, a little bit more complexity. But it's really a great expression of Sangiovese, and sort of the grape of Tuscany, the grape of Chianti Classico. But wonderful wine. I don't know if it's available. If it is, it's through a consignment agency. But remarkable stuff and always delicious.